Portland, Oregon, the Rose City. The NTT INDYCAR Series is back in the Pacific Northwest. We're ready to go racing here at Portland International Raceway. Good crowd here. Here we go. And Dixon gets a nice jump on the inside of Rossi.
Alex Palou has your race lead. His teammate Scott Dixon's going to take a look to the inside. Dixon's going to run into the side of Palou as 3 or 4 cars go off the racetrack.
Oh, cars spinning, cars wrecking everywhere. Romain Grosjean, Will Power, Oliver Askew was involved. Both Ganassi cars, Palou and Dixon missed the turn.
Full course yellow, full course yellow. All right, Alex, so the start wasn't ideal, but we'll get that back.
Yeah, man, but slow it. Come on.
Let's take another look here. Watch Rosenquist, the third blue and orange car. See that little tap right there? Rosenquist hits Dixon. Dixon shoots up the inside of Palou, and that's what forced Palou wide.
All right, so all those back markers from about 15th or 16th back have stopped. We're guessing they're going to try to two-stop it.
All right, we're getting ready to go to green. Thankfully, the field has been reorganized. There were 8 of the 27 cars pitted. Pato Award, he jumps out like a rabbit, and away we go.
Very smart move by Pato to make the jump on that start.
Rahal has not won in 4 years. Might this be the day? He's getting away after a good pit stop.
7.6 seconds. Now watch for it. Watch the blend. Look for the black and orange Arrow McLaren SP machine.
Pato Award at the start-finish line, but he's got it.
He's got him easily. Check this out. Rossi's going to beat him out.
Now the next guy to come is going to be Palou, and he just laid down a big lap time. The fastest lap on the track right now.
Pushing real hard. Use overtake to stay as close to Dixon as possible. Keep pushing.
How much you want me to push? 100%?
100%, 100%. Use lots of overtake. Hit this lap. Hit, hit, hit.
This is a critical pit stop. Championship on the line.
Check this out. Look to the left. Get ready. Here comes Palou easily out ahead of Alexander Rossi.
Well clear.
Dixon against his teammate. Who's going to get out? Look to the right. There's Palou easily handled.
Now it's on between Rossi, Dixon. Dixon on cold tires. Rossi's got to set this up. There you go. That's the way to get it done.
Clear. Full course yellow, full course yellow.
Is this bad for us?
We're going for the win. It makes it more challenging.
Copy.
Simon Pagenaud has spun around turn number 7. A full course yellow flag is going to bunch up this field with 24 laps to go.
Yes, what it's going to do is make an exciting race to the finish. Now everybody's got enough fuel. Palou leading it, but you remember Palou's on black tires.
Everybody going for the early jump on restarts here. It's worked out well. Joseph Newgarden getting around Rosenquist. Look at the yellow car. Colton Hurd on Scott McLaughlin going inside. Big lockup, takes the position. McLaughlin hangs tough on the outside.
Oliver Askew in the Hy-Vee Honda gets turned.
Stalled it.
Let it go. It's all you can do.
So we're going to have another restart. Palou went even earlier that time, getting a huge jump coming onto the front straightaway. Rossi's going to be getting frustrated here.
All of the cars behind you are on red.
All of them? That's going to be exciting.
Alex, there's no concern on fuel, but if you mix to one, you can use it. Last lap, nice and smooth.
Absolutely brilliant drive today, particularly staying out of trouble with his teammate there on the start. Yes, they had to take the drive-through. Yes, they got unlucky. A masterful drive today.
Alex Palou looking for his 3rd win of the season. He had never been to Portland International Raceway in competition prior to this weekend. It's a brand new track for him.
Alex Palou wins in Portland and retakes the championship lead.
Congratulations, man. Awesome. Great job, 10 cars. Great performance today.
Oh, boy. Thank you so much. You guys are the best. I love you guys.
And that was your 2021 Grand Prix of Portland. But obviously we're going to, we may have a different winner coming up this weekend. Welcome to the 14th episode. Yes, 14th episode of the Push to Pass podcast. I am Derik Vance, and bringing in our co-host, we popped his cherry, so to say, last week, but bringing him back for week number 2 and hopefully many weeks to come. Josh Roberts is joining us. Josh, I'm not sure how much you got to catch of the Grand Prix of Portland last year, but a interesting race. Alex Palou used that to pole vault him to the top, and we may see a lot more of that this weekend, and we'll get into the preview here shortly. But how you been?
I'm good. How about you been? How you been, Derik? I'm just hanging out, watching some football, and other than that, not doing much.
Yeah, I do see that there are college football games starting. So an exciting weekend there. Not only exciting weekend, week one of college football, but we have we're down to the nitty gritty. 2 races left this weekend in Portland, which we'll talk about, and then next weekend, I believe, at Laguna Seca to end the year. So a lot to talk about here in the next hour or so. We are going to be joined by two different guests this evening. The first one that's going to join us, I had the opportunity to meet this gentleman down in Nashville. Can't wait to talk to him again. Mike Joachim, the co-host and founder of Pit Lane Parley, is going to be joining us to talk about this upcoming race this weekend in Portland. And then, as always, Mike from Burnout Sports and Burnout Bets is going to be joining us as well. But before we get to those, let's take a look, Josh, at what we have coming up here this weekend in Portland. So let's go to the preview of the Grand Prix of Portland, if I do my graphics correctly. But as we've noted here, the NTT INDYCAR Series is now winding down to just 2 races left. And Josh, I think it's safe to say that the championship race is definitely heating up as the IndyCar drivers find themselves this weekend in Portland. Actually, it's right outside of Portland, actually, in Vanport, Oregon, if anyone's ever been there, to the Portland International Raceway for the Grand Prix of Portland. The Portland International Raceway, 1.967 mile track, it's a 12-turn road course. So we got the last 2 races of the year. Going to see road courses both at Portland. A bug flying around Portland and Laguna Seca. It's going to be 105 laps or 207 miles. The entry list just took a peek at that a little bit ago. Your regulars: Joseph Newgarden, Scott McLaughlin, Dalton Kellett, Pato Award, Elio Castroneves, Felix Rosenquist, Marcus Ericsson, Scott Dixon, Alex Palou, Will Power. Talking of Marcus Ericsson, Josh, you've seen the livery last year for Alex Palou, the PNC Bank Machine, familiar with Scott Dixon. Well, this year, Marcus Ericsson is going to have that same livery on his machine this weekend. So it's going to be interesting to see that. Not only are you going to see it, obviously, on Scott Dixon, but you're going to see it on Marcus Ericsson as well. Will Power, current points leader. Kyle Kirkwood, Graham Rahal, David Malukas, Connor Daly, Renus VK, Colton Herta, Alexander Rossi, Roman Grosjean, Devlin DiFrancesco. I finally got that one right. Christian Lundgaard, Jack Harvey, Jimmy Johnson, Takuma Sato, Simon Pagenaud, and Callum Ilott round out the entry list. Before we get into more of this, Josh, let's take a preview from one of the drivers participating in this weekend's race, and I think one that you are going to enjoy.
Race weekend, Portland. Excited for another shot in the Carvana Honda. I'm going back to a track that I really enjoyed driving at last year. We had a chance to test there last year. Sadly, not this, but I just got back from Laguna Seca. I'm feeling good with the car and glad that I got those extra laps and experience heading into a race weekend. So excited for it. Looking forward to being in the Pacific Northwest, such a beautiful area of the country, and I can't wait to get out there and get racing.
Thanks to your favorite driver there, Jimmy Johnson, in the number 48 Carvana Honda. To take a little bit of time to preview Portland. But for people that are unfamiliar, Josh, with the Grand Prix of Portland, the Portland International Raceway opened in 1961 on the former location of the city of Vanport, which was destroyed by a Memorial Day 1948. I can't think of anybody that I know alive in 1948 flood. The 12-turn 1.967 6.4-mile natural road course is relatively flat, but contains several spots for passing opportunities, including a quick chicane at the end of the front stretch, a hard-braking right-hand turn in turn 7, leading into a sweeping back stretch, and a 3-turn complex leading back into the front stretch. Famous driver Al Unser Jr., who won the first IndyCar Series race in 1984. In 1997, the race set the now current all-time record for the closest 2-car and closest 3-car finish in NTT INDYCAR Series racing history on a road course. Mark Blundell beat second-place Gil de Ferran by 0.027 of a second and beat third-place Raul Boschel by 0.055 of a second in a 3-wide finish. The push to pass, where you got the idea, the push to pass parameters, they're going to have 200 total seconds time with a max time of 20 seconds per activation. As for tire allotment, you're going to have the 6 sets of the primary black tires, 4 sets of the alternate red tires. Also, teams must use at least 1 set of primary and 1 new set of alternate tires in the race. And then also note that a 7th set of the primary black tires is available to any car fielding a rookie driver. As we did at the Open, Josh, the 2021 race winner was obviously Alex Palou in the number 10 PNC Bank Honda. Coincidentally, the pole winner for last year's race was that same Alex Palou in the number 10 PNC Bank Honda with a lap time of 58.7701 seconds at 120.360 miles per hour. If you're wondering what the qualifying record is, it's held by Will Power with a lap time of 57.2143 seconds at 123.577 miles per hour, and that was set September 1st, 2018. For the on-track schedule, what we have is tomorrow we'll have practice from 2:30 to 3:45, and then on Saturday there'll be at least a guaranteed 45-minute practice from 9 to 10 a.m. And then at 12:05 p.m., they'll have the NTT P1 award qualifying. That's going to be 3 rounds of knockout qualifying. And then after that, from 4:15 to 4:45, we'll have final practice. And then on Sunday at 12:23 p.m., they're going to have the infamous drivers start your engines. And then at 12:30, we will have the green flag drop of the Grand Prix of Portland. Like I said, 110 laps, 216 miles. So let's get back into this. Josh, I know you've all week, I know you've been looking up things at Portland, reviewing old races and stuff. What are some of the things that you've noticed heading into to Portland this week that you want to make available to everyone?
Well, looking at the track, the first 3 turns are very treacherous. I can see them going into one and two. They just, I'm assuming there's going to be a couple cars taken out in that just in the first lap because everyone's going to be so overzealous because, as we know, there are only 2 races left, and the point standings are just razor thin to where one spot in the early going could get somebody a win and propel them to the championship. I mean, Newgarden's just barely behind Will Power, and like I said last week, I'm picking taking Newgarden as the winner this week.
You know, it's interesting that you do bring up that the points race there because there are actually, for people that didn't know this, there are 7 drivers that are still mathematically eligible to win the 2022 NTT INDYCAR Series Points Championship. As you said, Will Power holds that slim margin, a 3-point lead over Joseph Newgarden. Scott Dixon is 14 points behind. Marcus Ericsson is 17 points behind. Alex Palou is 43 points behind. Scott McLaughlin, 54 points behind. And Pato Award is 58 points behind, respectively. Also keep in mind, any driver who trails the points leader by 54 points or more following this weekend's race at Portland will be eliminated from contention. So that's going to be something interesting to see as well. Some of the race notes that we have before Mike joins us. There have been 8 different winners in the 15 NTT INDYCAR Series races in 2022. You had Scott McLaughlin, who has 2 wins at St. Petersburg and Mid-Ohio this year. Then you had Joseph Newgarden, who's been on one hell of a roll. Texas Motor Speedway, Long Beach, Road America, the first race in Iowa. You know, some could argue that if he doesn't crash, he probably wins the second race in Iowa as well. And then just this past 2 weekends ago at Worldwide Technology Raceway. And then you have Pato Award, winning at Barber Motorsport Park earlier this year. And then the second race in Iowa, Colton Herta winning the first road course race during the month of May at IMS. Marcus Ericsson obviously winning the 500 this year. Then you had Will Power in Detroit, Scott Dixon in the streets of Toronto and Nashville, and then Alexander Rossi winning the second race that we had at IMS, the IMS road course earlier in the year as well. So we could see 9 different drivers. We could see 10 different drivers, obviously, before this is all said and done. So definitely going to be an interesting race, I think. And just to some milestones here before we bring our first guest in, Josh, believe it or not, that Scott Dixon will attempt to make his 305th consecutive start. 305th consecutive start. This is the second longest streak in NTT INDYCAR Series history. With his next pole, P1, Will Power will break a tie with the GOAT, and no, that's not Jimmy Johnson, Mario Andretti, for the NTT INDYCAR Series record for most career poles. Both of them can, believe it or not, have 67 career P1, 67. And also, to another side note here on Will Power, with his next win, will tie Michael Andretti for 4th on the all-time NTT INDYCAR Series all-time victory list with 42. So definitely some storylines, some things to keep our eye on as we gear up for this weekend in Portland for the Grand Prix of Portland. But somebody alongside of us that's going to be covering this race. Finally glad to be able to work our schedules out, because trust me, it's been a real pain in the backside to get this guy on. Quite the busy fella this time of year, but finally was able to get Mike on. Mike Joachim, co-host and founder of Pit Lane Parley, had an amazing time meeting him, hanging out with him in Nashville. Mike, first of all, thanks for being able to carve a little bit of time out of your busy schedule to join us. Things have been quite chaotic in your life since Nashville.
Dude, probably the easiest reason why this week worked is because I was like, you know what? As much as I love the IndyCar race in Portland, I hate going to Portland. I really don't like it at all. So I'm like, you know what? Last year I flew out of Portland and I said, I'm not going next year. Like, this is my off weekend for the year. So I'm glad I can work out. Don't mind the dog in the background. He's a maniac. So yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Why don't you like Portland?
You know, that whole keep Portland weird thing you see on the internet. It's kind of not. I mean, it's weird, but there's a couple good restaurants. There's not. It's just not for me. And their media center, speaking from, I'm gonna sound real whiny here, but their media center is like a wooden box, that like has no air conditioning, and the sun by like mid-afternoon is just beating down in there. I remember last year, me and a couple people who work for IndyCar were like literally hiding under the like the desk area just to get some shade. And I was like, I try to take 1 or 2 off every year just to give myself a break, and this is one that I don't have an issue taking off.
Yeah, I've never been to Portland, so I think I'll stay here. It sounds like by talking to some people along with you that just seems like maybe this is one to kind of put the week off, as you said. But Mike, I do have a question.
Yeah, man.
What got you into covering auto racing in this profession we call journalism?
So it probably goes back to the fact that my dad, my grandpop, and my great-grandpop all have worked in some capacity for IndyCar or USAC or whatever. So my grandpop and great-grandpop were pit lane officials for USAC, mainly like on the East Coast, so like Langhorne Speedway, Trenton Speedway, Pocono, Nazareth, kind of up and down the East Coast. They would travel a lot too. And then when my dad turned 18, he started doing some pit lane stuff, but ended up doing more like timing and scoring. And did that until I think he said, I don't remember how old I was, but it was after I was born, maybe 10, 11, something like that. So yeah, I was just born into being a fan. And then when I started the show 5 years ago, I wanted to be involved in racing. I didn't know how. The only thing I knew is I didn't want to blog because I felt like everybody can blog and you can't. There's no way to like stand out. And I started a podcast with zero knowledge on what I was doing.
I definitely, I know you're coming from there having, zero, classes in journalism or even in broadcasting. So I definitely know where you're coming from there. So, how did you decide on, what is today, what is known as Pit Lane Parley? How'd you come up with that?
Man, so my original co-host and we were friendly at the time on Twitter, and I just said, "Do you want to do a podcast?" Like literally, there's no like grand story to this. It was, "Do you want to do a podcast?" And we started it. It was, the first like 5 or 6 were like okay, and then we had Joseph Newgarden on as our first guest, like episode 6. Got really lucky getting him on so early. And then it was just like kind of like working on it. Like, okay, what do I like? I guess, we should probably take this more seriously. And there's not a great story on how it came to be other than I wanted to talk about IndyCar and, now Formula One and occasionally other racing.
It's interesting you bring that up because we've kind of ventured that way too. Obviously, I tried to focus on IndyCar and that's 95% of the show. But last week we found ourselves with a week off discussing NASCAR and other things. So it's interesting that you were strictly IndyCar, but now you've kind of ventured out a little bit into other racing. So for people that may be curious. Mike, what's it like following IndyCar around? I know you go to, a majority of the races, but for people that don't know the nuts and bolts, the behind the scenes, being a journalist in IndyCar, describe the best you can to our audience what that's like.
It's a lot of waking up if I'm flying, it's a lot of waking up at 4 a.m. to get to the airport and sleeping on uncomfortable airport benches, and then a lot of running around all weekend. Is it doing interviews? Is it paying attention to something on track, or running back to the media center for a press conference, or jotting down notes so I can do an interview later on because I have some content partnerships with a few teams and whatnot. So like the weekend to me is just a lot of, okay, where do I need to be in the next hour, and figuring out like, okay, what time do I need to get up from my seat? And, depending on the track, like Nashville, it takes 25 minutes to walk anywhere. So it's how much buffer time do I need to build in to get there? And then what do I have right after that? So it's always it's like planning 3 steps ahead for what you're about to do, because there's just always, you get done an interview and there's probably something on track. Okay, do I need to be paying attention? Do I have somebody else from the team with me that can pay attention so I can, go back and just grab a cup of coffee afterwards, or edit the interview, or, edit the media bullpen where I'm editing 6 or 7 interviews into an episode. So it's, it's not a lot of downtime, except when you get stuck in lightning delays like we've seemed to have been the last couple weeks. But yeah, it's a lot of that, or a lot of 5 to 8 hour drives and getting home at 3 o'clock in the morning sort of deals, which is also not very fun.
Mike, what's your favorite track outside of Indy? Everyone seems to love Indy because it's just the crown jewel.
Yeah.
What's your favorite track? Like the one where you enjoy the most?
Road America. And it's also like, I don't get to explore. Like, I also base it on what city do I like? Airbnb or hotel or whatever, a restaurant or a bar, even if it's like a hole in the wall place. Mm-hmm. But it's got everything. It's got a famous hole in the wall bar with good cheese curds and good beer, but also racetrack with awesome food options anywhere around the track. Like, Road America is one of the places where I'm like, you know what? I don't want the free lunch. I want to go pay for the cheese curds and French fries or something like that from the one place. I forget the name of it off the top of my head, but yeah. And I mean, there's so many cool places to walk around and catch a different vantage point when you have the opportunity during a practice session or something like that. And yeah, it's just a beautiful place.
Okay. That's interesting, Josh, that he brings that up, because I've heard rave reviews from multiple people, and not just Mike, but I've heard that if there's one you're planning to go to and cover, obviously outside of Indianapolis, Road America is definitely one to check out, and we'll see how things go schedule wise, but we may be making a trip up there. So, like I said, Mike, you've been covering this for all season now, obviously, and we're down to the nitty gritty. We're down to 2 races left, razor thin, as Josh pointed out in the points race. Before we talk about Portland, what are some of the things that you have seen in this 2022 season?
Man, what a year. This has been one of the most hectic years. I feel like every weekend there's something wild going on, usually on the track and some weeks off the track too. But I was surprised. Kind of the rookies have been really interesting to me this year, where like Kyle Kirkwood, the first couple weeks started out like really hot, minus Texas, I think, where he got caught up in a wreck, but he was doing really well early. Now he's kind of faded. And then Christian Lundgaard, who I remember DNF'd in Texas. I don't know why Texas is like sticking out to me right now, and kind of was quiet early in the year. Now him and Malukas are, 10 points back on the Rookie of the Year battle. So I've found the rookie battle super interesting this year, just to follow along. And then guys who have kind of had a redeeming year, Rosenquist kind of doing much better this year than he has last year. Even Alex Rossi finally got off, his 50 winless streak and got a win. And for the most part, since Indy has looked pretty damn good most weeks, except was it Iowa that they were terrible? Yeah, I think it was Iowa that they were terrible. So I've really enjoyed the seeing guys get back to form and the rookies this year.
Yeah, well, speaking of rookies, I know one that you didn't mention. It's not because you failed to, but Callum Ilott. I give a lot of credit every week to what that team, that driver is doing, and just for the simple fact that it's a one-car team. And the success that he has had only having that one car, I think, has definitely gone unreported on all year.
Yeah, not only that, Callum is one of the nicest dudes in the IndyCar paddock. He's also low-key hilarious if you get some time to talk to him. I talked to him. I've talked to him a few times this year, but last year in Portland, I interviewed him for the bullpen, and we talked so long. IndyCar was like, yeah, he's got to move on and do other interviews now. But he's just that kind of like, it was his first. I think Portland was his first IndyCar race last year, and he was just instantly comfortable talking to everybody. So he is one to look out for in the future for sure.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And then what David Malukas has done, how much influence is Takuma Sato having on the rookie season that David Malukas is having?
Yeah, first off, I think I was saying this to David last week. So for those listening, David is a monthly co-host with me and my co-host, Frenchie. And the first time I interviewed David was 2018, whatever year he was in Indy Pro 2000. I think at the time was still Pro Mazda. And I said, you're going to be on an IndyCar podium one day. I'm never right. So when I make predictions like that end up right years later, it was a really cool moment. But Sato, I think this year has done a lot for David in terms of confidence and also just kind of like, getting more, I don't say more aggressive, but, sticking those elbows out there and fighting for his space. And you've seen that the last month or so. They share setup advice all the time. Takuma likes his car a bit different, a bit looser than David will probably ever like his car, but they do work very well together.
Yeah, it obviously shows. Even last weekend, or a couple weekends ago, I do believe at St. Louis, you had Dale Coyne Racing. I believe both cars finished top 10, and that's got to be definitely exciting for that race team. But as we're getting down here to the nitty gritty, like I said, 2 races to go. 7 drivers still mathematically eligible to win the points championship. Too early for you, Mike, to make a call as to who you think is going to walk away with this after Laguna Seca?
Man, I'd like to say I could pick somebody, but I'm not particularly ever good at predictions. But I know 7 are technically still eligible. I think it's really, if I'm gonna make any prediction, is going to come within the top 4. I think Palou is just a little too far back, especially since the finale hasn't been double points since pre-COVID. So, that if it was double points, I could be like, okay, Palou, McLaughlin, Pato, yeah, no issue. But I'm saying somebody in the first 4.
Yeah. We both went with Newgarden. I think this has been his year. I think there's no way to deny that. And I think he finishes out on top. But if you're Roger Penske, and I'm curious to know what you've heard in the paddock about this, what do you say if you're Roger Penske? What do you say to not only Will Power's crew, but Joseph Newgarden's crew? Don't wreck each other?
I probably don't say too much. Just you guys have done it all year. It's not like they've really had any kind of moments this year where you're like, oh boy, I don't know about that. So if I'm them, I'm not putting any if I'm Roger or Tim Cindric or anybody else who's in a management position there, I'm saying just do what you've been doing all year. Otherwise, I'm probably not saying too much.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see what the strategy is in both of those camps, obviously, with 2 races to go, with the points championship being so razor thin. We are in Portland this weekend. Mike, you want to give us a little bit of preview, what you foresee taking place in the great state of Oregon and in Portland this weekend?
Yeah, so obviously I think the nice thing about Portland as a track is there are passing opportunities around the track. So you've got a little bit more room for error versus Laguna next weekend. But I think the big storyline heading into Portland every year, and every year we go there, is how many cars will survive turn 1. And that's that will make or break a championship contenders weekend and maybe season if you have, if you DNF on lap 1. Not saying they will. Last year you saw Palou and Dixon just decide hey, we're just going to skip turn 1. We don't want anything to do with this. We'll take the, 5-place penalty, drop just by slowing down to go off track. But Yeah, man. I don't like that's to me like the biggest part of the weekend is lap 1, turn 1, or a restart in turn 1 is managing where you are on track versus who's around you. Like how do you play it safe when there's nowhere to go?
It's interesting, Mike, that you brought that up because at the top of the show, Josh mentioned that as well. Is turn 1, is that going to be where it makes or breaks somebody's season, especially when it comes to the championship contenders?
Yeah, I think the rest of the race there will be passing opportunities. Portland can be a little bit of a fuel save. It's not super grinding on the tires, but it's all about surviving turn 1. Like that to me, like that's the story of Portland every year, surviving lap 1.
Yeah, definitely going to be interesting to see. Josh, anything you want to ask Mike before we let him go? I know his dog's probably pretty anxious to go outside for a walk here before it's bedtime. So anything you want to cover, Josh?
He's currently eating my socks, so I think we're all right for a minute.
Mike, I'm fairly new to IndyCar, even though I've lived in Indy for my entire life. I just never got into it until Derik started up this podcast, so I've started to look at it a lot more closer. What do you think about the possibility of more oval races and more night races being put onto the schedule? I mean, I think a night oval race with the IndyCar and passing just looks so great on television aesthetically.
Yeah, man. I hope NBC, whoever is dictating the Gateway schedule, whether it's NBC or IndyCar, some sort of combination of the two, brings it back to a night race, because you saw the last 20 laps of that race were epic. If you could have the whole race as a night race, would just be amazing. I mean, yes, I would love for there to be more ovals. I grew up, my first IndyCar race, I was 5 or 6 years old, I think, going to Nazareth Speedway. So I went to Nazareth Speedway every year as a kid until it closed down. And, then Pocono wasn't far behind. Dover was an hour south of my house. So I grew up in Philly until, this year. And, so it's what I love ovals. The biggest problem is, to look at Texas's crowd this year. There were 7 people in the stands. It was ghost quiet. Gateway crowd wasn't great. I think that was due to the time, the weather, and the fact NASCAR was there a couple weeks before. So I that one I give a little bit of a pass. But look at Iowa. Hy-Vee kicked ass with promotion. So we've seen this year, and I think you can say with Gateway too, the biggest key to success for IndyCar ovals is the promoter or the sponsor, who's going to put in the work. Otherwise, I don't know. And I think Milwaukee could be successful with a good promoter. Sure. Kentucky, probably, you could get a good Midwest promoter. Yeah, sure. Outside of the kind of the Midwest ovals, I'm not too confident that you're going to get somebody who wants to promote it. And I think that's the biggest key, whether it's IndyCar or, a Hy-Vee. That's the biggest thing. I have no confidence that Pocono will ever be back on an IndyCar schedule.
What do you think about going back to Michigan? My very first actual race that I can remember was up in Michigan. And with Little Caesars now being the new sponsor of the NFL, they could throw some money into Michigan and making that race an awesome race, I think.
I would love for IndyCar to be back at Michigan, because I would love another super speedway on the calendar. Super speedway racing is so fun. My only thing is Michigan being NASCAR owned means that they're less likely to be yeah, come on in IndyCar, because it doesn't seem unless it's in Indy, NASCAR really cares about helping IndyCar in any way. Would I love it? Yes. Do I feel super confident about it? Not as much as the other ones I mentioned. But Little Caesars as a promoter sounds like a really cool idea.
Yeah, the Ilyich family that owns Little Caesars. They also own the Red Wings and the Tigers. they are really into building back up Detroit. And I know
Okay.
they'll be in Detroit next year, but I think Little Caesars would be a really good sponsor for that race up there also.
Listen, I forgot that that family owned everything. So, I mean, that's a good case for, a good sponsor that has the funding to, throw $7-8 million behind a race weekend.
I mean, you could bring in all kinds. You could bring in Detroit legends or Michigan legends. You got Kid Rock to do a concert. Eminem could do something. Bob Seger, something like that would be awesome for him. I think for a good weekend.
Yeah, let's do it.
Hopefully IndyCar's listening here. But Mike, I know your dog seems like he's getting, or he or she is getting awfully antsy. I know you do some amazing work, as we touched on earlier. Can you tell people where they can find that and follow you if they're not? Heaven forbid if they're not.
Yeah, how dare you? No, just kidding. Totally fine. Go to, I think Twitter is like the easiest place, and just go to the podcast Twitter. It's at Pit Lane Parley, Parley. We post everything there. I probably won't do too much tweeting this weekend, but on a normal race weekend, for the most part, I'm pretty active on there, posting updates and whatnot. So, yeah, go check it out. Lots of cool stuff coming this offseason that I, in our own silly season way, cannot yet talk about, but will be really exciting.
He's actually going to define what a contract is. I'm kidding. I don't know.
No, definitely not smart enough to figure anything like that out.
No. But you know what? You're smarter than you say. But Mike, again, huge thank you for carving a little bit of time.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, no problem, guys.
Out of your busy schedule, obviously, to join us. We'll definitely have to have you back, and hopefully we'll be able to cross paths here soon. If not, I guess we'll have to wait till St. Petersburg.
You guys are both in Indy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Is anybody going to NHRA this weekend?
Actually, I can't.
He actually does he's closer to the Speedrome and does security there. So yeah, but I completely forgot that's a weekend.
Yeah, I'll be there Saturday. Okay. So if anybody that's listening is going to be at NHRA on Saturday, feel free to shoot me a message and I will say hello.
Yeah, and I know we've talked about maybe getting together this offseason. We'll definitely have to
send me a
spot
message
out and figure something out. But Mike,
Sounds
again,
good.
huge thank you. Definitely check him out this weekend and the rest of the 2022 NTT INDYCAR Series season. Mike, again, huge thank you, and we'll talk down the road.
Thanks, guys. I'll see you later.
Thanks, Mike. Bye.
Good stuff there. Go check him out on Twitter. Give him a follow if you are not following him already. And like I said, heaven forbid that you guys aren't following him. Shame on you, because definitely putting out some great content over there at Pit Lane Parley. We will get into our next guest here. Should be coming in momentarily, and then also too, we do have some news and notes to finish off with. Just a spoiler. Good to see a new entry. Well, not a new entry, but another entry into Laguna Seca coming up at the end of the season. Also, like I said, we're waiting on Mike from Burnout Sports to join us. While we do that, Josh, want to get your thoughts on some of the things that Mike commented on.
Very informative. It puts everyone thinks that reporters or media people just go around and they eat steak and lobster up in the booth and don't really do too much work other than writing and videotaping. But I mean, when you're taking 6-7 hour drives to make it to make it places, or sleeping in airport benches just to make it, it shows how much dedication they have to it. Yes, you get to meet all kinds of cool people, Roger Penske, Alex Palou, the who's who of the IndyCar, but you really have to be dedicated to be able to do that, to give up time from your family, give up time from just anything that you want to do to be so dedicated to that. He's a very knowledgeable person. I learned a lot from him, as I've learned a lot from you. And I'll get better at knowing more and more about this sport through just listening to guys like you and guys like Mike.
Yeah, he's definitely spot on. You think about it, and I've been able to go to a handful of events, compared to the numbers that Mike's done. And you got to think the track opens at 7 a.m. Media Center opens at the same time, so you're there, 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. You're there covering, if it's practice, qualifying, whatnot, race day. And then, depending on what the weather does, how the race goes, the race flow, you might not get out of there till 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. So you're putting in, a 12, 13 hour day, just to come back and do it all over again. Mm-hmm. So, Mike wasn't sugarcoating anything. He's absolutely spot on. And, for Nashville, for us, it may only be a 4-hour drive, but it's 10, 12-hour day weekend. So he's absolutely spot on. And traveling by air, that just as well as I do, how big of a hassle that can be at times with on time flights, delays, layovers, etc. So, Mike wasn't sugarcoating anything at all. But speaking of Mike's, I guess, Josh, I guess we should have labeled this the Mike and Mike show. But Mike from Indy Bets, Burnout Sports, Burnout Bets, you name it, he wears the hat, is joining us. Mike, first and foremost, as always, thank you for carving a little bit of time as you have all year. We're down to just 2 races left, you can believe it or not, in this NTT INDYCAR Series. How are things over there at the homestead?
They're good, man. All good. Excited for these last 2 races. Excited for football to get started. I'm watching, my Purdue +3 bet blow up in my face as Purdue does dumb crap, but that's okay because I'm gonna make some money back betting IndyCar.
That interception wasn't an interception, by the way. Just letting you know.
I didn't think so either.
It hit the ground. But Purdue also has to tackle that tight end a lot better.
I'll get back to that
before we get into Portland this weekend, I think you kind of answered Josh's question from last week. He wanted to know if you bet on more than just IndyCar, and I think you've kind of answered that question there.
Oh yeah, of course. I got into betting on other things, and then because of my IndyCar fandom, that led me to kind of get into IndyCar betting. I love betting on golf. Golf is one of the sports I enjoy playing, but I also very much enjoy betting on golf, and golf's a fun sport to bet. It's very similar to IndyCar, as a matter of fact. And trust me, I will have a full card of NFL and college football bets, and there will for sure be plenty of money flowing around in the betting accounts over the next couple months.
All right, what I'll have to do, I'll have to give Josh your Twitter handle so you can go and check that out. But getting back to the business at hand here, Portland this weekend, I think we've all come to the conclusion it's going to be a war of attrition, especially when you go into turn 1. As Josh pointed out earlier, and then Mike from Pit Lane Parley, who we just had on, reiterated that. Odds come out earlier today. Anything jump off at you right off the bat?
Yeah, I've already made a couple bets. Just kind of a couple betting strategy things for this race. This is definitely one of those courses where you want to be up front. Obviously the goal in betting pre-qualifying is to try to find guys who are going to qualify at that top, especially, and this track is last year, the guys who qualified 1, 2, 3 finished 1, 2, 3. I believe the winner has come out of the top 6 or top 8 in every single Portland race we've ever had. So, we need guys that they're going to qualify fast. We need guys with good history. And then the other big question mark I had for this race is what to do with the Penske cars. If you look at the data and the research, Penske sucks at this track. They're terrible. Like, I don't want any part of Joseph. I think I just saw he has a grid penalty. That was breaking. I don't know if you guys talked about that yet. You got that. Power hasn't qualified well on natural road courses this year. He seems to kind of like, for the guy who's, the greatest qualifier, well, almost the greatest qualifier in the history of IndyCar, he's kind of shit the bed when it comes to qualifying on road courses this year. And McLaughlin's been solid. He's somebody I always like because you get him at longer odds. But what to do with the Penske cars, and really what I'm doing right now is fading them. And that's because the numbers were just low. Like, this is a situation where I'm betting numbers, not necessarily drivers. And the drivers that have the best history had bigger numbers. So Palou at 10-1 jumped out off the page of me right away. I know back a couple months ago, the plan was to fade Palou based on all the circus going on, but it seems to have not affected him, and he's a stud at this track. So Palou, if you can see top three and to win bets on Palou, I put some money down on him at 10-1. Rossi's another guy, awesome track history. I love it when I get Rossi before qualifying at 14, 15-1. He's sitting there, I think, at 14-1. You can see there's different, shop around. There's different sports books that have different numbers on those guys. So the best number that you can get, fine. But Rossi's another guy that I put a bet on. And I also like Rosenquist as kind of a long shot bet. Rosenquist is qualified in the top 6 in every single Portland race. He's put up there. He's sitting at 20-1. If he qualifies in the top 6 on Sunday, that number is going to be 10-1 or less. So I want that 20-1 now on Rosenquist with the thought being he's going to put it in the fast 6. And his betting line is going to come way down, and I'll be sitting pretty with a 20-1 ticket rather than making a decision to bet him on Sunday at 6-1, 7-1. So those are the 3 I bet, all double-digit numbers. All guys I think can put it in the top 6 and have a shot at winning the race. I also split the bets, top 3s. I love the Palou top 3. I like Dixon top 3. Fuel mileage races, scream Dixon. He's got some great history here. They were 1-2. So Dixon is another guy. If you got a top 3 market available to you, I'd look for his top 3 number. I've seen a couple of 3-1s, 2.5-1s. That's really good. If he qualifies top 3 on the race on Sunday, his top 3 betting line is going to be even money or worse. So if you can get that now at 2-1, 3-1, you want to grab that. So those are the guys. And then I think the other angle, we just had, we did a Burnout Bets Twitter Spaces earlier tonight with Tony. There's a couple of group bets, and we got our eyes on the Rahal guys. We like both Christian and Rahal. I put a little baby bet in on Graham at 40-1. I like both of them top 5, which is 5-1. I think those are good bets for both of those guys. Rahal should have won this race last year. He got screwed on a caution. He is running away with the thing. So at 40-1, he's been pretty hot lately. We obviously know I definitely have. He made me a ton of money last week or 2 weeks ago with all his matchup bets. So I think they're coming around the corner in the Rahal camp. So I'm gonna have my eyes on Rahal for matchups again and Lungar. So yeah, bunch of bets, bunch of stuff kind of jumped off the page. Even though I did kind of start off by saying like this is definitely a track you got to be careful with the pre-qualifying bets because we know this is IndyCar. These guys are all within a second of each other. Doesn't take much. If you're buried in the back of the pack going into turn 1 in Portland, you're in trouble. So you want to be at the top. So I'm going to save a little bit of most of my bankroll for Sunday after qualifications. I want to see what the Penske cars do. But ultimately, like I said, I like those numbers on Palou, Rossi, Dixon top 3, and Rosenquist. So I jumped on those.
Here, we'll fix the Team Penske problem. Fade. I'm fading them. I'm absolutely fading them this weekend. I mean, I know where they're at in points, obviously, and with 2 races to go, I'm fading them. But the 3 locks that I have, you've already mentioned one, Alex Palou. I like Colton Herta, and I like Alexander Rossi. That's my 3 locks. People I think you need to keep an eye on that I don't remember you mentioned. I know you mentioned the Arrow McLaren SP guys, Ed Carpenter Racing. Keep an eye on them. Meyer Shank, Marcus Ericsson, David Malukas, and Callum Ilott. And then, like I said, I'm fading anything to do with Team Penske. I'm not huge on Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan Racing this weekend. Just not. Scott Dixon, I know he's the GOAT. I'm fading him too. And then Takuma Sato as well. But yes, Alex Palou definitely. I think he's probably going to be one of the most betted this weekend for sure.
Yeah, look, it's all about the number. I mean, Palou sitting at 10-1 at Caesars right now. That's just a great note. Like, Palou should be sitting at the same spot as Herta, Dixon, McLaughlin. Like, there's no reason that McLaughlin should be 6-1 and Palou 10-1. So it's really about the value of the bet. Rossi 12-1 at Caesars. Yeah, Penske, I want to see it first. If I see, they tested here. And I'm sure there's a reason, they went and tested here last week is because they know that they weren't good at this track and they got their butts kicked last year and the year before. So, if anybody's going to figure stuff out, it's Penske. They got this, they pay them, they got the biggest budget. They got the smartest guys. So I'll keep an eye on that. I think I'll save those Penske bets for maybe on Sunday if they do qualify well. But already with Joseph getting the grid penalty, if that's accurate, and Power, I don't expect him. He's made mistakes qualifying on these courses. So yeah, look, I want to jump on those bigger numbers. The goal of betting before qualifying is to get these big numbers in my pocket. So that just opens my betting card to do a bunch more stuff on Sunday. If I've already got Palou 10-1, he puts it in the top 3. Rossi 12-1, and then Rosenquist. But yeah, most of the other guys you mentioned, like I'm off of Lucas this week. He's been just middling to okay on the road courses. He was great on the short oval, okay. But if he gets a lot of attention in maybe the head-to-head market, I'll probably be on the other side. It'll depend on who he's against. But like if you showed me Ray Hall versus Malukas at even money or minus 110, I would go and grab Ray Hall with that for sure. So it all depends on, betting is about the numbers sometimes, not the drivers. So this is kind of the direction I'm going this week when they lay these numbers out there. And look, I think Herta's okay too. Herta's sitting at Caesars 8-1. I saw him in another book. I think DraftKings had him at 9 or 8.5-1. That's a high number for Herta, who's got some good history on this track as well. So if you're, you can't bet them all. You got to kind of pick and choose. I went with the bigger numbers, but Herta was definitely had my eye as well.
Josh, before you jump in here, just to confirm what you were asking earlier, Mike, according to motorsport.com, Newgarden will lose 6 places from his qualifying position for this weekend's Grand Prix of Portland. Apparently, this was due to the fact that the number 2 car has had an early engine change, which on ovals cost the entrant 9 grid spots, and on road and street courses cost them 6. So Newgarden's already in a hole already.
Yeah, that's a killer. You can't bet him at Portland with that happening. Because you need to be up front. That's what the history shows us. So there's no way I'm going to touch him at 4-1. And I'm going to wait. I'll wait to see if he qualifies. If he qualifies on the pole, and then maybe think about backing it up. But usually the sports books don't know about these grid penalties and they screw this up. So if you get Newgarden, you might get some matchups where you get some, somebody qualifies 1 or 2, or let's say he qualifies 1 or 2, but we know he's going to start 6 or 7 because of the grid penalty. We can. If you're fast on Sunday, you can grab that and get a really good number against him.
Josh, I know this is your wheelhouse. Anything you want to wrap this up with, Mike?
Oh, I'm just looking at I bet with Caesars a lot, and the top 5 bet Dalton Kellett at 75-1. That just I'm a big reacher. I mean, would it be silly to put $10 on him? Just 75-1, just top 5. That's all he has to do is top 5.
Has he ever had a top 5?
You never know. I mean, this could be the weekend. $10.
Let's see. Let me go to the top
$150.
Let me take a peek.
Well, while you do that, Josh, keep this in mind. Along with the penalty to Newgarden, the aforementioned Dalton Kellett will receive a grid penalty as well this weekend for the same reason. So that 75-1 may shoot up more.
Okay, well then I'll go with Jimmy Johnson, who's also 75-1. My favorite.
I was just gonna say, I'd rather, if you want to play with the 75, I'd rather go the Jimmy direction and see if he can just kind of, hey, half the field could crash out on turn 1. We get a couple restarts. Chaos happens. He put it in the top 5 kind of just by cruising in the back before. It is a fuel save race. Like, there you go. So 75-1 Jimmy, 60-1 Delvin, and then obviously it gets lighter there. So there you go. You can throw a couple bucks that way.
Yeah, but what really did jump out until you guys told me about the No, actually, that's Newgarden that has penalty. How is Alex Palou a 10-1 after he was the winner of this last year? I would figure he would be bet higher than that.
They're making the odds based on the points in the championship for the most part, and some history. But yeah, it jumped right out at me. I don't know. I think it's wrong, which is why I bet it. So when you see numbers that you think are wrong, that's where you jump, and that's how you long term you get. You're looking for expected value. So the more EV you can get, you jump on it and you hope it hits. So they've done the same. The books have done the same thing with power all year. It hasn't really translated into wins. It's translated into polls with some great numbers, which have allowed me to make money elsewhere on top threes and other win bets. But yeah, power usually gets too high a number for a guy that qualifies so well. And yeah, I think this is kind of a mistake with Palou. I don't know why it's 10-1. I would have expected 6, 7, 8 range. So give me the 10 all day. And same thing with Rossi. With Rossi's track history here. Rossi. And then, they also, I think the sports books don't really pay attention to know the difference between ovals. Newgarden just won the oval. It's a totally different ball game. And, if you're an IndyCar fan, you follow the sport, you follow racing, you can kind of combine those two. It's all about, it's about information and numbers. And the more you have of that, you have an edge over trying to get an edge over the sports book.
Okay.
So definitely go out and put money on Palou this weekend is basically what Mike is saying indirectly. But Mike, I'm sure you and Tony and everyone over there at Burnout Sports, Burnout Bets will have a Twitter space again before Sunday's race.
Yeah, we'll be planning to jump on Sunday sometime around 2:33, as close to green flag as possible, so we can see all every bet out there. But we'll be keep an eye on the Twitter. We'll tag Burnout Bets and my Indy_bet for me. I'll put my card out in the morning, and then as I make bets or see bets, we'll put it out there, and hopefully we can kind of have the same kind of big community win like we had on Ray Hall on all his head-to-heads last week, and we can make it happen.
Mike, good stuff as always. Glad that you've been able to join us all season long. Look forward to not only finishing up the last 2 races we have here, but like we said, we have college and NFL football coming up. Let's make some money there as well. Mike, again, huge thank you. And where can people find you if they have not found you already?
Yeah, keep an eye. Like I said, Burnout Bets. It's at Burnout Bets on Twitter, and then at Indy_bet. You see it flashing on the screen there. That's everything. I'll put up everything there. Feel free to send me any messages. I try to respond to most everything I get when people ask questions about IndyCar betting. And the more people we can get betting, the better. Kansas just opened up for betting this week. That's another huge market. Indiana's dropping like a couple $100 million a month in sports gambling. If you look at the numbers coming out of there, so it's blowing up. I think 30-something states now. My hope is that IndyCar is just something big on the menu. We still got a long way to go for IndyCar sports betting to get mainstream, and hopefully the more we can talk about it and make people a little money here and there, we can get excited about it. And I think it makes IndyCar more exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, Mike, huge thank you for joining us. Good luck this weekend, and we look forward to see what you got for us.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, good stuff there. Make sure you check Mike out on social media if you want to win some scratch, as the great Dan Dockich would say. Go check out Mike over there on Twitter, Burnout Bets and Burnout Sports. Josh, we have one more segment left to go, and it is our news and notes from the week before we drop the checkered flag on this episode. As we mentioned, just some late breaking news. Mike from Burnout Bets, Burnout Sports. Keep in mind this weekend that not only Joseph Newgarden, but Dalton Kellett both have received grid penalties, and they will lose 6 places from their qualifying positions respectively this weekend. Due to both cars, the number 2 and the number 4, having a early engine change. So keep that in mind. And then also, too, I know we teased this earlier in the show, but this is a great story taking place. Paretta Autosports was able to this week to bring on Turn On Green announces sponsorship with Paretta Autosport for IndyCar's Firestone Grand Prix of Monterey. Again, aka Luna Seca. Turn On Green, a green energy technology and power supply company and subsidiary of BitNile Holdings Incorporated, announced today, this was this week, that it will be the primary sponsor of the number 16 Paretta Autosport Chevrolet for the upcoming Firestone Grand Prix of Monterey on September 9th through September 11th. The NTT INDYCAR Series season finale at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca in Monterey, California, will be the fourth race for the 2022 Paretta Autosport and its driver Simona Di Silvestro, a Swiss native, Josh, named the Iron Maiden. Paretta Autosport is the only female-owned, female-driven, and female-forward team in the NTT IndyCar Series, continuing the legacy that started at their groundbreaking 2021 Indianapolis 500 effort with a team comprised of more than 65% women, including the over-the-wall crew members. The team continues to inspire diverse interest in STEM through racing. And then here is a couple quotes here before we get on out of here. We are pleased to have Turn On Green come on board as our primary sponsor for the NTT IndyCar season series finale, which enabled us to add one more race to our 2022 calendar, said Beth Paretta, CEO and team principal of Paretta Autosports. Adding a fourth race this season will not only strengthen Simona's and our team's breadth of knowledge and experience, but will reinforce our goal of continual growth as we look towards an even more robust 2023. So glad to see, Josh, that Paretta Autosport was able to add one more race to their season, the season finale there at Laguna Seca. But good stuff here, I think, tonight, Josh. Great knowledge. Huge thank you to both Mikes. Mike from Pit Lane Parley for joining us and previewing Portland along with us. And then Mike from Burnout Sports, Burnout Bets at Bet IndyCar for dropping the latest sports book numbers and who to look out for this weekend. Josh, any closing remarks before we drop the checkered flag?
That car, the paint scheme on that thing is very fire, very nice. Whoever created that paint scheme, top notch. I am looking forward to watching the race this coming weekend. Got to work till 2, but then the race doesn't get on until 3:30. So I will be watching it on Peacock because I have that when I have Xfinity. And I'm excited. Going to put some bets down probably after after I find out qualifying. I just put a bet down about 5 or 6 minutes ago while we were on the air. It was not that long shot bet, but I did find something that I liked, and hopefully it pans out for me, and I'll let you know if it does pan out after the race.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm going to do the same. I'm looking at probably about $10 or so on Pelot. I think he dominated. Well, obviously Graham Rahal dominated last year, and if it wasn't for a mishap there, Graham won the race, but Alex Pelot picked it up and ran with it and finished first. So I think that's where I'm going to be looking to put my money towards this weekend is Alex Pelot. Josh, before we go, you want to give us a race winner?
I am going to go with Pelot. I think he pulls off the win. He's going to, but I think Newgarden is going to come in a close third with Scott Dixon coming in second.
Interesting. Can't wait to see how that plays out. That'd be a lot of ground to make up there for Newgarden.
Turn one's going to be turn one's during restarts and during the start of the thing. I guarantee you, cars are going to go out.
Yeah, definitely going to be the turn to watch when the green flag drops. But first, again, huge thank you as I reiterated to Mike Joachim over there at Pit Lane Parley for joining us, and then also to huge thank you as always, as he has done all year, Mike from Burnout Sports. Burnout Bets at Bet Indy. Over there on the Twitter machine for joining us as he has all year and given us the insight to gambling, and hopefully he has won you some money. And then also too, a huge thank you to Josh as always for joining us. I believe this could be his last show of the year. I know he's got a prior engagement next week, so maybe he can make it for the wrap-up show. We'll have to see how schedules play out. So a huge thank you to him for joining us as well. So that does it for episode number 14. We'll be back next week to take a look at and recap what we're anticipating as an exciting race there at the Grand Prix of Portland. So for myself, Josh, and everyone else here at the Push to Pass podcast, we will see you in the next episode.
Bye.